The history of cinema is filled with great train movies, such as The Train with Burt Lancaster, The Cassandra Crossing with Burt Lancaster, and Disaster on the Coastliner with William Shatner and his toupee. Okay, well, maybe that one wasn't all that great. But there was one awesome train movie in which its producers had to take out tens of millions in insurance so that some nutjob wouldn't replicate the storyline. This is the story of the making of the original Taking of the Pelham 123, the greatest subway movie ever. Hi, this is Jeffrey. Now, I'm sure many of you really enjoy a good train movie, and I'm sure you're familiar with some of the really great ones such as The Train, or The Cassandra Crossing, or Silver Streak, or Disaster on the Coastliner. Well, okay, maybe not the last one. But in the 1970s, there was one really fantastic train movie that came out, which was just absolutely terrific. It was called The Taking of the Pelham 123. Basically, it's the story of the hijacking of a New York City subway train. Now, this movie was very difficult to make, and it almost did not get made at all. It's a really interesting story, so let's get started in learning about the making of The Taking of the Pelham 123 of 1974. New York City in the 1970s, grimy, grungy, with lots of crises, plus the location of one of the best train movies ever, The Taking of the Pelham 123. The 1974 movie about the hijacking of a New York City subway train and 18 passengers for $1 million in ransom by 4 armed men was actually based on a 1973 novel by Morton Friedgood under the pen name John Godey, who was a lifelong subway buff. The title is derived from the train's radio call sign, which is based on where and when the train began its run. In this case, the Pelham Bay Park Station in the Bronx at 1:23 p.m. For about a decade after the film was released, the New York City Transit Authority would not schedule any train to leave Pelham Bay Park Station at 1:23 p.m. The subway system at that time was perceived as neither safe nor reliable. At first, the New York City Transit Authority refused to cooperate with the filmmakers. One area of concern was the part of the plot that describes overriding the dead man's feature of the motorman's controls. Screenwriter Peter Stone, however, created a fictional braking override mechanism as the linchpin of the script to appease the Transit Authority. After 8 weeks of negotiations and through the influence of then-Mayor John Lindsay, the Transit Authority relented but required that the producers take out $20 million in insurance policies, including special hoop coverage in case the movie inspired a real-life hijacking. This was in addition to a $250,000 fee for use of the tracks, stations, subway cars, and transit personnel. But with the huge variety of subway cars of the New York system, which one would be chosen for the movie? It was the Type R22! At least 2 R22 type cars were mainly portrayed in Pelham 123. As it enters the 28th Street station, the head car, or southbound motor, is numbered 7339. However, in an early scene at Grand Central, 7339 is seen on the express track across the platform. Later, after being uncoupled from the rest of the train, the head car was numbered 7434. The R22 fleet, part of the IRT or A Division, was built by the St. Louis Car Company and first went into service in April of 1957. The vast majority of the 450 cars built were scrapped in 1987, and a small fleet currently serves in work service. Now, let's take a look at some of the basic specifications of R22 subway car number 7339 or 7434. Number 1, length is 51 feet, half an inch. Number 2, width is 8 feet 9 inches. Number 3, height is 11 feet 10 inches. Number 4, seating capacity is 44 with a standing capacity of about 180. Number 5, traction system is the Westinghouse 1447C. Number 6, weight is 77,607 pounds. Number 7, braking system is the Wabco ME42A, which was disabled by the hijackers. And finally, number 8, top speed is 55 miles per hour. The Transit Authority also insisted that no graffiti appear in the film. Graffiti had become increasingly prevalent on trains starting in 1969, and the last graffiti-covered subway car was not removed from service until 1989. According to director Joseph Sargent on the lack of graffiti,
New Yorkers are going to hoot when they see our spotless subway cars. But the Transit Authority was adamant on that score. They said to show graffiti would be to glorify it. We argued that it was artistically expressive, but we got nowhere. They said the graffiti fad would be dead by the time the movie made its premiere. I really doubted that.
Filming began on November 23, 1973, and was completed in late April 1974, with its debut in October of that year. The budget was $3.8 million. Production commenced with the scenes inside the subway tunnel, which were filmed over the course of 8 weeks on the local tracks of the IND Fulton Street line at the abandoned Court Street Station in Brooklyn. Originally, the HH Shuttle opened in 1936 and closed to the public in 1946 due to low ridership. In 1976, it became home to the New York Transit Museum. Previous to that, the Court Street Station was used for filming movies such as The French Connection and Death Wish. Interestingly, this line is part of the B Division, which is built for wider trains, and an R22 would never run here in regular service. The third rail, which carries 600 volts of direct current, was often shut off and 3 protective bars were placed against the rail, but the cast and crew were told to treat it as if it were still alive. Rats and black dust were a constant issue underground, and actor Walter Matthau claimed to have contracted a bad cold from it and lost his voice from the one scene he filmed in the tunnel, which caused a slight delay in production. The movie was the first to use a new flash process developed by Movie Labs to bring out detail when shooting with low light in the tunnel. Cinematographer Owen Roisman was responsible for the artistic look of the film. After 2 months in the tunnel, production moved to Filmways Studios at 246 East 127th Street in East Harlem, where a replica of the Transit Authority's Brooklyn Control Center at 370 J Street was constructed. Many exterior street scenes were filmed at 28th and Park Avenue South, Union Square East, 59th and Lexington Avenue, and several others. Yes, indeed, one of the best movies ever, about both New York City and trains. Gesundheit. And so there it is, the story of the making of the Taking of Pelham 123 of 1974, one of the greatest train movies ever made, and really the greatest subway movie ever. Now, if you haven't seen it, you really should try to view it. You could either get it on DVD or on Google Play, but it's really worth it if you like these kinds of train movies. Now, not only is this movie a crime thriller, but it's also something of a comedy because you had Walter Matthau and Jerry Stiller, who were 2 greats of American comedy of that era. However, it was a dark comedy. It wasn't like a sitcom. And it was also a very sad movie as well, as there are definitely sad moments in the film. Now, secondly, there were 2 remakes of this movie. One, a TV movie made in 1998, And that one was actually filmed on the Toronto subway, and they tried to pass it off as the New York subway, but anyone who knows the New York subway knows that it was not filmed in New York. In 2009, they remade the film again with John Travolta and Denzel Washington, and that film, it was not as good as the original at all. It did not have such great reviews, although some people did like it. But none of these remakes came close to the original one of 1974. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at the making of the original Taking of Pelham 123. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.